To be the absolute Green Lantern, you must be without fear. Welcome to the Comicstorian Complete Story Series, where you get audio dramas of your favorite comic books, helping you decide what to go out and add to your collection. Today, we finally get to see who becomes a Green Lantern in the Absolute Universe, in Absolute Green Lantern Issue 1 by Hal Ewing. I hope you enjoy. Hal Jordan closes his eyes. "Be without fear," he whispers to himself. But the black circle flashes before his eyes, and a voice whispers to him, "Hal Jordan, you must be without fear." Hal opens his eyes again, gasping for air. "Without fear? I'm so scared," he whispers as he continues to walk down the lone desert roadway. But lights suddenly flash behind him, and Hal looks over his shoulder to see that a cop has pulled to a stop. The sheriff steps out of the vehicle and calls to him. "Sir, excuse me. Seems like an odd location for a Sunday stroll," the sheriff calls, pointing out that it's a long way from civilization, and Hal might not make it much further in the heat. Hal's hand fiddles with something in his jacket pocket, and the sheriff notices the strange movement, and his hand drifts slowly down towards his pistol. "What's in your pocket, sir?" the sheriff asks. Sweat begins to pour off of Hal, and his eyes go wide. He doesn't answer. The sheriff becomes insistent. "What's in there? Is it drugs?" he snaps. "Is it a weapon?" Hal closes his eyes. The black circle appears before him. The sheriff draws his weapon and aims it at Hal, who puts one hand up. "Fine, we'll do it this way. Lie down and place both your hands flat on the ground. Do it now!" the cop snaps. But Hal still refuses to pull his hand out of his pocket. "Please! My name is Hal Jordan. I'm from Evergreen. Something happened there!" Hal shouts. But the sheriff is still yelling at him, finger on the trigger. "Last warning! Show me your hand!" Finally, Hal pulls the hand out of his pocket. It is over in seconds. Hal opens his eyes and stares at the cracked smear on the pavement where the cop used to be, his sheriff's star gleaming in the desert sun. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," Hal whispers as he turns and keeps walking. Later, the bell over at the May and Mo's diner jingles as Hal steps through the door. The patron's eyes all shift to look at the stranger that just walked through the door. But Hal just stares down as he walks to the counter. "Something we can do for you, hun?" the waitress calls out. Hal nods at her and sits at the counter. "Water, please," he gasps. She stares at him as she brings a bottle of water. Sure. Have you been walking out there? Did your car break down or something?" she asks. Hal just stares at the water in front of him. "No, something happened," he whispers. Suddenly, all eyes are on the television as breaking news cuts into the midday programming. All of the diners stare in shock as the reporters begin to talk. "What you're seeing is helicopter footage from Evergreen, Nevada, a small town 15 miles from the California state line. This footage is live and unedited. It has not been tampered with in any way," the reporter says. Everyone watches as the helicopter flies over the town, where a massive green flat lantern shape has slammed into the ground, cutting through buildings and creating a massive crater. The images cut back to a reporter. "The destruction seems almost total, though no bodies have so far been recovered," she says. But there is movement off screen as someone starts to talk to her and hands her a piece of paper. The reporter nods before turning back to the camera. "I've been informed that we can't show you any more of that footage. An official statement is being prepared," she says before the screen switches to an emergency warning. The diners are all shocked and begin to murmur amongst themselves. Hal stares at the counter, looking down at the ring of condensation from his water, and the black ring flashes before his eyes. 5 days ago, Hal was sitting in a restaurant with his friends in Evergreen, talking about hoping to win the online auction for a Malibu Mary dream house. "The glamorous life of a toy salesman," Joe says with a smile. But Hal shakes his head. Collectibles dealer, Joe. Respect the office. And it pays more than designing buildings for a town nobody ever moves to, Hal points out. John Stewart lets his friends argue while he continues to eat his salad. But they all look up as three bikers suddenly zoom past on the main street, going far faster than the speed limit. Somebody's gonna get hurt, Hal says, pointing out that they should call Guy. But Joe makes a face. If Guy's ears are working, he knows all about it. I'm not calling him, she says. Hal starts to nudge at the topic of Joe and Guy's fight. Guy wanted me to come back to the Evergreen PD. It turned into an argument. I said some things. But if he still doesn't understand why I quit, well, maybe they needed saying, Joe finally explains. Suddenly, there is a sound of another approaching motorcycle. The three friends looked up again as the biker approached. Suddenly, there is a flash of green, and something slams into the ground. The bike can't stop, and slams into the green wall, exploding in a shower of metal, blood, and bone. The three friends stare in horror, before Hal quickly jumps out of his seat and rushes outside. Hal cautiously steps up to the green wall, which seems to shine before him. "What the hell?" he whispers. Joe steps up behind him. It's like there's a wall, but there's give. It's like a force field in a movie, he tells her as he glances over his shoulder. "Maybe stop touching it, Hal," Joe whispers to him. John is nearby, inspecting the crash, but the biker was going too fast. There's barely anything left of his body and the motorcycle. Hal and Joe watch as the other bikers come back. They seem to stare at the green wall for a moment before turning around and riding away. Hal stares after them in shock. They just turned around and rode away? Like their buddy isn't dead on the road? He whispers in confusion. Joe nods, like they don't see anything strange at all. What's happening here? They look at the greenery around them, realizing that it rises up and creates some kind of dome. Maybe whatever it is doesn't like to be noticed? Joe looks up and points, seeing a flat lantern shape above them. Guys? What's that?" she says as she points up. Above them, a pale alien stares downward. The present. Hal stares at the ring on the counter. "Abin Sur. He said his name was Abin Sur," Hal whispers. "He came from somewhere else. The symbol in the sky, that belonged to him." The waitress turns at his words and leans in. "You were there? You were in Evergreen? That thing on the news? Was it some kind of spaceship?" she asks. Tears begin to fall from Hal's eyes. "He called it the Green Lantern," Hal whispers. The rest of the patrons are becoming angry, surrounding Hal, demanding answers for what's going on. I made a mistake. I wanted to be a hero," Hal stammers. "Abin Sur, he did something to me. He gave me something. Gave me a weapon," Hal continues. The waitress nods as Hal's hand begins to shift in his jacket pocket. "Like a gun?" she asks, her own hand sliding under the counter where a pistol waits. But one of the other patrons isn't waiting. He demands to know what is in Hal's pocket, just like the cop. He finally reaches out and grabs a hold of Hal's arm. "Give me that! Let's see it!" the man shouts. He pulls Hal's hand free of the pocket, revealing that from the wrist down, Hal's hand is a swirling black vortex with energy surging off of it. Black tendrils come out of the hand, picking the man up and lifting him into the air. Everyone screams as the man is torn apart, leaving nothing but his golden necklace. The energy continues to surge off the hand, swirling around the diner. Hal reaches down and grabs a hold of his wrist, as if he's trying to keep it under control. "It's the hand! I'm holding it back! It takes all I have to hold it back! Keep it away from people! But I can't control it! It responds to danger!" Hal yells. The waitress draws her pistol and fires, hitting Hal in the stomach. The tendrils arch out, ripping through the diner and knocking the cars over in the parking lot. Moments later, Hal is standing in the remains of the diner, everyone dead around him. Hal reaches for the wound in his stomach, But the black tendrils reach out, healing him as he stares in shock. He looks down at the black hand. "You're not gonna let me die, are you?" he whispers. Suddenly, the door is shoved open and the golden bell jingles, miraculously having survived. "Hal? Hal Jordan? What happened to you?" Jo asks as she steps into the diner. But she is glowing with a green light. The Green Lantern symbol is bright on her chest. And that is where issue 1 of Absolute Green Lantern leaves us. Hal Jordan is being consumed by his own fear as the darkness on his hand causes nothing but destruction. Will he succumb to his fear or conquer it and join Jo, the Green Lantern? You'll just have to wait and find out next time. But let me know your thoughts on today's video in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a lot and gets you notifications when new videos go live. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Penny.